Hi there, I'm Adrienne Barker from Professional Global Etiquette. You know, there's this silent thing happening all around us, but it's making a ton of noise in offices and classrooms, even on first dates. Today, we're going to unpack what people are calling the Gen Z stare.
Okay, picture this. You're explaining something you're really passionate about. A big idea at work, maybe a personal story. You look over at the person you're talking to for some kind of reaction, and what you get back is, well, nothing. Just this quiet, unblinking, prolonged stare. So what gives? And that, right there, is the big question. Is this just rude? A total breakdown in social skills? Or are we missing something? Could it be a new, super focused way of listening for a whole new generation? Let's get into it.
All right, so first things first, to make sure we're all on the same page, what exactly are we talking about when we say the Gen Z stare?
Basically, what we're talking about is the lack of all those little cues we expect when someone's listening, right? The nodding, the ahas, the little smiles. Instead, you get this still, direct gaze. And man, it's got people on both sides of the generational divide talking. And this really lays out the two big camps, doesn't it? On one side, you've got people thinking this is a social breakdown, like it's just plain rude. But on the other side, there's this argument that it's a cultural evolution, a sign of real focus in a world that's just full of distractions. So let's dig into that first argument, the breakdown side of things. All right, let's dive in. From my perspective at Professional Global Etiquette, this first viewpoint sees the stare as a real problem, a breakdown in the classic etiquette that we rely on to, build connection with positive feedback. From this point of view, communication is a two-way street, right? And without that nonverbal feedback, it just feels cold. In an office, it can make your colleagues feel like you're judging their ideas or just totally zoning out. At a networking event, you come across as aloof. And on a date, oh yeah, that could be a total deal breaker. It basically screams, I am not interested.
And listen, there's actually data to back this up. In my work, we see that something as simple as a nod can boost a speaker's confidence by a massive 30%. 30%. So when those cues disappear, it can seriously undermine collaboration and make people feel completely invisible.
So really, the bottom line for this side is this. It doesn't matter what you intended. If the person you're talking to feels dismissed or uncomfortable, then the communication just failed. The whole point of etiquette, they'd argue, is to make sure the other person feels comfortable. Okay, but hold on, because that's only one side of the coin. Let's flip it over and look at the other side. This is where we see a completely different picture. One where the stare isn't rude at all. In fact, it's a signal of something else entirely. So from this point of view, that stare is actually a sign of deep respect. Think about it. Gen Z grew up in a world of constant notifications, pings, dings. So for them, giving you their still, silent, uninterrupted attention, that is the ultimate compliment. It's their way of saying, I am tuning out all the noise in the world to focus only on you. It's less about performing listening and more about actually being present. And this quote just nails the Gen Z argument, right? There's a real pushback against what they see as fake or performative social cues. Like, why should I nod and smile on cue if I don't feel it? For them, it's all about authenticity. And that quiet stare, they'd say, is way more honest.
And there's another really important layer to this. For some people, especially after everything we've been through in the last few years, this isn't even a conscious choice. Social anxiety is a real thing, and for a lot of young people, trying to manage eye contact and facial expressions and listening all at the same time, it can be totally overwhelming. So that stillness, it becomes a way to cope.
So here we are, two totally different ways to read the exact same behavior, and this is where things get really, really interesting, when these old school norms and new habits smash right into each other.
And boom, here's the collision. The traditional view says, hey, for communication to work, we all need to speak the same language of respect. But the modern view fires right back. Says who? Who says the old language is the only one? I mean, norms change all the time. Think about it. Handshakes pretty much became optional after 2020. What's seen as rude today might just be the standard tomorrow.
Let's play this out in a real-world scenario. A manager, super excited about a new project, is presenting it to their team. A younger employee is listening intently with that focused, unblinking gaze. The manager starts to lose their steam. They think the idea is a total flop. But when they talk to the employee later, the employer's like, no way, I was completely locked in. So, who's right? This is the exact tension playing out in offices everywhere right now.
Okay, to really get a handle on this, we've got to zoom way out.
This isn't just about different generations, this is about the very nature of etiquette itself, which you'll find is never really universal, and it's definitely not permanent.
Just take a look at this. In the US, most of us think direct eye contact signals honesty and confidence. But in other cultures, like in Japan for example, that same intense eye contact can come across as aggressive or disrespectful. It's such a powerful reminder that these nonverbal cues don't have one single fixed meaning across the board.
And that, right there, is the fundamental takeaway. The so-called rules of how we interact, they are not set in stone. What was considered polite 100 years ago might seem totally bizarre today, and what's polite in one country can be seriously rude in another.
Yeah, you gotta think of etiquette as a living, breathing thing. It shifts and changes with every new generation that joins the workforce, with every new app that changes how we talk to each other, and with the incredible blending of cultures all over the world. This whole Gen Z stare thing, it might just be the latest chapter in that long, ongoing story.
Which of course leaves us with the million-dollar question. Is this Gen Z stare just a passing fad that we need to correct? Or are we actually watching the birth of a new social norm right before our eyes? As an etiquette expert, I have to say this is fascinating stuff because the answer is still being written every single day. I'm Adrienne Barker. Thanks so much for tuning in.